This episode of the Ron Pertie Show is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial, head over to audibletrial.com/I'm Uncle Ron for a free 30-day trial. I mean, I love Audible. I mean, who wants to use their eyes when they can use their ears? You can just sit there and you can do whatever you got going on in the house. The dishes, you can pack a bag, you can take the dog for a walk, and you can listen to the new Mel Brooks book. So check out audibletrial.com/I'm Uncle Ron for a free 30-day trial today.
This is the Ron Pertie Show.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's been a weird time. We've lost so many people so quick. We lost Bob Saget. Not going to get too much into that because that's a whole thing, and enough people have been talking about it. Suffice to say that I love Dirty Work. I was never a big Full House fan, but I love Dirty Work, and that movie was fantastic. So I will be giving that a rewatch soon. I do have some stuff to talk about, though. I was fortunate enough to see the first 4 episodes of How I Met Your Father, and I couldn't talk about it until today. So I'm talking about it now, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I kind of feel if you put the first 4 episodes out and you don't draw people in, you're never going to draw them, perhaps. And this was a big case for me. A lot of it is written in a younger kind of tone that maybe I don't understand when they say stuff. And I'm a big fan of How I Met Your Mother. I thought it was great. And this just doesn't want to stack up. It's almost like it's not even trying. But, I mean, don't listen to what I have to say about it. Go out and watch it for yourself when it drops January 18th on Hulu. And make up your own mind. Everybody needs to make up their own mind. But Kyle Lewis is my guest. If you watched the New Year's Eve special, he was kind enough to stop by and do a set. We have a great talk, really great talk. And it goes all over the place, but I kind of love that. So I hope you all enjoy it. It's fantastic. And it's just it's so refreshing to have a chat about comedy with somebody who has done and is doing what I did. And is way more successful at it than I am. But yeah, so it's good chat, and we're going to get to that right now, so we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Sarah Dunsworth, and you're listening to the Ron Pertie Show.
So yeah, it's been a while since you've been on.
Yeah, it has been.
It's been like not counting the New Year's show, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, I feel like since 5 years ago, maybe more than
something
5 now.
Like that. And I don't even remember how we met.
I don't. I think you might have seen a clip of me somewhere. I had a good algorithm today, I guess.
Or it might have been with we might have met somewhere. Like I think it might have been someone that we both know, or it might have been because of wrestling
shared. Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I'm glad that you're able to come back. It's always a lot of fun having you on.
I'm happy to be here
and stuff. But I want to talk a little bit about because comedy right now in stand-up and in particular is kind of at a standstill because the door opens a little bit and people are like, oh, we can go outside again. I see the sunlight, and then all of a sudden the door slams back in their face. Like, no, that was a big UV light that we're using to try and get the coronavirus out of your body. So how has that impacted you doing stand, especially in New York? Because that's like the hub of stand-up.
Yeah, it's impacted me a lot. It hasn't impacted New York at all. It's still like from even we'll start from the beginning of it. Everyone started doing Zoom shows, and then the second you can go outside, people were doing park shows, and then they were doing some people were doing shows on the train and the subway. People were having their own secret shows they probably shouldn't have been having. Things like that. I don't know any names. I just know that like these were things that were going on.
Right.
And once things opened back up, there was another boom and stand up. A lot of people, a lot of different shows. Hard to even get your show booked. And I'll talk about that for me, as in my show.
Right.
I'll talk about that in a second.
My show is very easy to book. Just sit in your bedroom and you're fine. Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah.
But now I think you have like maybe 60, even more than 60% of the comics still out, just like getting Omicron, like not giving a fuck anymore. And the rest are sitting out. I'm one that sits out because, speaking for myself, I don't live alone. I live with family. People are older than me. Not that Omicron is like the deadly one or anything.
Right. And is your family all vaccinated and everything? And
everyone's vaccinated. Everyone's boosted. Everyone does all that. I'm not using them as like an excuse, but I don't want to bring that into the house. We just had a scare a couple months ago. I don't want to bring that into the house. Right. Because I want to tell jokes about freaking Sailor Moon. You know what I mean?
And those are the jokes of yours that I don't get, is because I know enough to get a lot of stuff, but Sailor Moon, maybe I just don't get Sailor Moon, but that's neither here nor there. And plus, you've got you've got a day job. You're not relying on comedy as a 100% income.
Neither are a lot of them. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know how people do it, and I don't ask them. There'll be like a 2 p.m. mic, and people are at like the 2 p.m. mic on like a Wednesday, and I'm just like, how do you live? Like where do you get money from? Like I'm very curious.
It's like six people living in a studio apartment, splitting rent that way.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, so there's comics who are out. There's shows still going on.
Right.
And I'm personally waiting. I'm waiting for things to die down, and I need to figure out my next steps for my show. Like I was saying earlier, I do my show Character Select on a Saturday usually. And since the pandemic, getting a Saturday booking is almost impossible now.
Because everybody's booked up.
Yeah, either everyone's booked up. They don't want to give the bar, like they don't want to give comedy to Saturdays. Like it was really hard to like find a permanent spot, because my first time doing the show, maybe a few years ago, we had a spot at the Triple Crown for 3-4 years. Not every Saturday, one Saturday a month. We knew where we would go. It had its good and bad parts, but that was our home. And then after the pandemic, we lost our home. So I'm trying to find new venues. And over the summer, we did outdoor shows, and those did really well until we couldn't do those anymore. And then another bar hosted us for a couple months, and then another breakdown, breakthrough. That's whatever they call these
outbreak.
Cases. Outbreak. Yeah.
Yes. Just we'll ask Dustin Hoffman what they call
it. Breakthrough, outbreak, all of them.
A breakthrough of stupid people.
Yes, that happened again. And then I'll figure it out once I'm able to go back out. Like I have a immediate plan in my head, and I have a potential long-term plan, and I'll have to put that in action when it's time. But I do miss it. Like,
would you ever think of doing a Zoom version of this, or is that just not in the cards?
I never really got into it. Like, I thought about it. Like, if we were in the house for like 2021, I probably would have done it.
Mm-hmm. We probably should have been in the house for 2021.
We should have, but
but it is. I mean, I the most money I've ever made doing. Well, no, I take that back. But the most money I've ever done for doing like 5 minutes was doing a Zoom show, and it was all in tips. And there was and there was 8 of us, and I still made like $25 after it was all split. So I was like, oh, actually, no, I take that back. But you can't really count my show that I booked, because that was actually a really good show, because everybody walked away with at least $100 for doing 15 minutes. So
that's awesome.
And free beer. If you're a drinker, free beer is great.
Yeah, I mean, who can say no to free beer if you're a drinker? If you're a drinker,
Exactly.
If you're
So
not a drinker, it's a
then
problem.
you're just kind of like, well, I mean, then why can't they just give you free soda?
Yeah. Somebody told me once at one of the comedy clubs, they like vented to me that the non-alcoholic package is, if not more expensive than the 2 drink minimum. And he was like, I don't know why I should be punished for that. I was like, I don't work here. But
Am,
I
am
didn't
I
know
wear
that,
am I
dude. I'm
wearing a
sorry.
uniform? I mean, is it? I mean, what's no? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a comedy club. We didn't really have the people weren't really dressed. I mean, I guess people were wearing all black, the people who work there, but that
Right.
time people they looked like you or I.
Yeah. Well, nobody can look as sexy as us, but let's be real here.
Yeah.
Now, what got you into comedy when you were younger? I mean, what did you have family that were funny that kind of influenced you to get into it, or did you see something, or what was it that kind of lit that triggered that spark?
For me, I liked writing, and I liked writing like scripts and parodies and things like that. That was like I didn't think stand up was going to, like, that was not a thing that didn't enter my head until maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
But I used to like, and that was always like a big goal, and still is a goal, like write for TV, write a TV show, get your own TV show made, right? All the hard jobs, stand up, writing for TV, not accounting, like all the hard ones. I might have even said that like 5 years ago when I was on here, but that's what got me like interested, at least in types of comedy, at least writing comedy. And I would watch stuff like The Simpsons and South Park and Dave Chappelle. I'd watch a lot of Chappelle specials, or I'd watch I remember like I would catch like certain, like the ones that would always stand out are the ones that like if you're not, like, I'm like cleaning or doing something else, and like Comedy Central's when they would show like half hours run. And I remember like Greer Barnes had like this like amazing set, which I had to like record back and like show my friends. And those would stick out to me. But then in 2012, I was doing a job that like was very like menial, just like press button, like not, you could do it in your sleep. And then I just kept having the idea of doing stand up, like just seeing myself on stage doing stand up. And that was brand new. I was like, that never happened to me before. So I was like, yeah, we'll see where this goes. And then I took an improv class, and
Oh
I took
boy.
it. Yeah. But the improv class was all stand ups. It was like
That's kind of
all
weird.
stand ups doing the improv class. Yeah. For most aspiring, like very new. Everyone was very new. I don't think anybody was like, maybe one or two people were like a couple years in. Everyone else was like a few months in to stand up. But then they were like, oh, they also offer a stand up class. And I did it. And stand up class sounds weird, but what I tell people is it teaches you to not suck for 5 minutes. You
Yeah.
can go up. Yeah. They teach you joke structure. They teach you how to take your 5 minutes and like make the most of it. Because you can go to a mic tomorrow and bomb and waste everybody's time. Or if you really like care about it or actually like want to do it and you have the money, take a class if they have one. It'll teach you some stuff, and then
Right.
you can go for it from there. And if you never do that again, as long as your stuff's evergreen, you got 5 minutes, you can bust out anywhere.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but I think a big problem with a lot of new comics is that they feel like they have to write their 20 or 30 minutes right away. And I know when I first started, I got up and I did 5 and I got a laugh, which is probably the worst thing for a new comic is to get up on stage your first time and get a bunch of laughs because then you immediately think, oh, wow, I'm really good at this. And it doesn't prepare you for that next time when you bomb. But the big thing I did is I went out there and I did my 5 minutes and then I tried writing another 5 minutes for the next mic. And when I should have just been trying to hone the 5 I had.
Yeah, no, I fell into that mistake too. It would take me a while to realize like not to, because what I would do, or at least how I would get booked in the beginning, I fell into the bringer show trap. So they would be like, "Oh, you're really good. You can come back again next week. You just bring like 4 people instead of 5, and then bring like 3 people. But if you get 5, that's really good." So the same people are coming. So I'm like, I can't keep saying the same joke to the same people. So while it did help me write, like some of the jokes I'll never say again because they just were terrible. but like after a while, your friends are like, I can't keep coming to these, and you're like, I can't keep doing these. I'm running out of friends.
Right. No, and if anybody isn't familiar with a Bringer show, either watch Crashing with Pete Holmes. They have a really good episode on that. Or it's basically you can perform if you bring X amount of people, essentially, and it's a really shitty way to get stage time. But
they're still pretty. I'm not gonna shit on them too much because they're still. Well, what someone told me, and I don't know how true this even is now, is to do the ones that like can actually benefit you, and that could that can be a lot of lies.
But how do you know which ones can benefit you though? You know,
exactly. There are some in New York that like I've seen people get somewhere from, in a positive way, not just for like a month and then you're back at the bottom. So I know those do exist, but still, they're not. It's not ideal.
Right. No, it's not a fun way. And another thing that I really, really hated doing when I was still doing stand-up, and I just decided, and before I decided to just do this hot mess of a show permanently, was doing mics in front of other comedians when they're the audience, because you can't tell if a joke works because you're never going to hear a response because everyone's so wrapped up in their own stuff.
We have I know certain places in New York will try and do like the no phones or try and be as attentive as possible, and sometimes it works, but also that's something I need to get back into when things are open. I do not I'm not a big mic person. Mics in the hang, and I think we talked about this before.
Yeah,
I don't like. That's the nice way of saying this.
You don't mind the people, but you just don't.
I like the people. I don't want to sit there for 2 hours and then go up for 5 minutes and get nothing from it.
Right.
You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to and then if you're hitting 2-3 mics a night, that's another 2 hours that you're sitting, and you're like, it's just, I think you got to be more beneficial with your time.
How many during the peak before COVID hit? How many mics were you doing a night? If you did
stop doing mics,
you just stopped completely. When you were doing mics, though, how many a night were you doing?
I used to try and hit one almost every. I couldn't do a couple times a night just because of what my jobs at the time.
Right.
So I would try and hit like one, maybe two, during the day, but that's more just kind of build up during the week.
Right.
That's what I thought, and then like that's when comments were like, "You got to hit like 3-4 mics a night," and I'm just like, time again, what do y'all do? Like,
right? It's like, I'm sorry, Jerry Seinfeld, pardon me, but and that's the thing, it's got to suck too, because when I did mics here in Wisconsin, you don't get bumped by people, but if in your case in New York, if you're out there, you're signed up to do 10 minutes or whatever, and somebody like I don't know, like a Cat Williams or Anthony Jeselnik walks in and they want to do some time, your ass is getting bumped.
Yeah, of course. That's I got bumped. This wasn't a mic, this was a show. But before I get to the story, the mic, you can get bumped for their friend. Like, it's not even gonna be Cat Williams. It could be Jeff. It's like, oh cool, Jeff's here. They're gonna put
Jeff Williams is here.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what? He's gonna tell the same dick joke. Okay.
But hey, I had a dick joke in my set for a long time that I loved. And it had something it had to do with socks, but that's a whole other thing.
There are great dick jokes out there. Some people do not have them, and some people have great ones.
Some people's entire sets are based on dick jokes.
Yeah, some people's entire sets are but although I should go back to them, because that's where the characters come from. Like, some people just like stick in your head. And I don't know if this guy is still doing comedy today. And shout out to him if he is. This is not me insulting him. His punchline was, "That reminds me, folks," and then he'd go into another story, and then he would go, "That reminds me," and he would do this for 5 minutes.
Oh God!
Sometimes you got to the point where you laughed a little. Other times you're like, "Wow, this guy's very committed." And I have not
committed to segues, apparently.
Yeah. I have not seen him in a long time, but I really hope he is doing well, and I hope he's still doing it. But the story about getting bumped.
Yeah, who'd you get bumped by? Jeff?
Jim Gaffigan.
Oh,
Jeff
okay.
Gaffigan.
Jeff Gaffigan, his brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No.
How could you see him coming though? He's like transparent.
Yeah. If I could see John Cena, I could see him. No. Um,
Hey, don't forget, everybody. The day this episode is out, Peacemaker hits HBO Max. Not a sponsor, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you guys could watch it and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Once again, not getting paid.
Yeah.
So Jim Gaffigan. I get put on stage. I'm like, I start doing myself, and I have like my friend from Minnesota there. I have some friends who see me for the first time. I'm like, I'm gonna kill it. I get the light like a minute and a half in, and I'm like, what? There's no way. Like, I'm only like a couple months in right now, so like, there's no way I blew through like 5 minutes. I think I'm supposed to have 7, which, especially when you're starting out, you're like 7 minutes.
It's like forever.
Yeah, that's your comedy. That's your stand-up special. You got 7 minutes of time, and then they take me off. Like, I rush through some joke, bomb completely, and then Jim Gaffigan goes up to do. Well, he tells me good set, which he's probably just being nice. And then Jim Gaffigan goes up there and does his thing. Friends love it. Everyone loves it. Everyone got to perform, but me.
Wow.
So I'm just like, and I got to the stage. And here's the thing, that was not a great not on produced shows. That's not great producing to like rush somebody off like immediately.
Right.
Like, give me, I don't know, like I don't, and the bar wasn't closing, like the comedy club wasn't closing. They weren't gonna throw you out at like 10 on the dot. Like,
right.
Give me the 5 at least.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
At like 2, like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, and then at that point, I mean, you just bump the next person.
Yeah, and in his defense, he was new too. Like, he was a new producer as well. Okay. So he was like, if I just started doing stand up like 2 months ago, he maybe started producing 3 months ago. So I can.
You can hope that it wouldn't be something he would do now.
Yeah, I can hope if he's still producing. I hope that
he probably just got excited, saw Jim Gaffigan, and was like, "Oh my god, Kyle, who?"
Exactly. We're at a comedy club, so like Jim Gaffigan came in to do time, and that would happen to people sometimes. I know like Todd Barry would come in, and I don't think they'd get hurled off like I did, but
it is what it is, right?
Yeah, it was still cool. It was still a cool moment,
and it's a cool story you can tell people. Now I gotta ask you something, because I've had this happen to me, and I want to know your history with it. How do you manage relationships being a stand-up comedian? Because every time I start seeing someone and they find out I do comedy, they just assume it's stand-up. It's like, there are sketches and other things, and shows that you can, and they're like immediately like, well, you can't talk about anything in your act. I'm like, what? How about we do something before I have something to talk about?
Yeah.
Is it hard to, because in New York, I'm sure being a stand-up is a much bigger thing than it is in Wisconsin, it's like, well, yeah, I'm out there doing 5 minutes for a couple of cows and a pig, but I killed.
They loved it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would think that the stand-ups are just on Bumble all the time, like all the dating apps. So you kind of get like burnt out, at least from the women's point of view. It's always some stand-up on there. You got the guy holding the fish. You got the shirtless guy. You got a stand-up comic. You got we're just kind of like a trope now. But I've had people be excited about it, even if nothing like came of it. Like the idea of being like, oh, well, I hope you don't put this in your act. And it's like, we haven't done anything. Like, again,
exactly.
Like, really nothing has happened. I had one or 2 people I've had like long-term bits just from dating them, and like that worked out. I know one person, she was like, if something funny happens, you can put it in here. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure it won't happen. And then when we went out on the date, like I found out she was allergic to cheese. Oh. And then she wanted to eat pizza.
Well, that's and I'm just bright.
And it was not
like, bright at all.
She got very drunk and she wanted to eat pizza, but she was allergic to cheese. So then I had to order a pizza without cheese. And then explaining that to this Italian restaurant pizza place that I want a pizza without cheese. Like, I've never seen somebody so angry at me for even trying to do that in their store. It's just like,
and it's actual Italians. It's not like here in the Midwest. If you're listening, and if you're a friend of mine listening to this, it's not like it's actual Italians. It's not some Polish guy who decided it was a good idea to start opening a pizzeria.
no, it was actual Italians.
Yeah,
and then
so they're looking at you like you're what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, they're like, what the hell's the matter with you? And then I used to say it's like the Lion King. Like he gave me the Lion King speech. He was like, "Look here, everything the light touches turns to cheese." Like that was it.
We don't go over there where there's no cheese. Now is your material is a lot of for lack of a better term, nerd-esque. You use a lot of material. You have a lot of material based on stuff that you like, which is fine. But do you feel like that's kind of a niche thing, or is it accessible to a lot of people now?
I think that it is. That's the stuff I put online, and maybe that's just a branding issue of mine. I don't show like my main, like that story that I just told you. I haven't said it since the pandemic, but that was a story I would say besides the Lion King reference. In like my regular bits, like I'm not going out every night talking about like Venom or things like that.
Dragon Ball Z
or Dragon Ball Z or the.
Let me talk to you about Goku for a second.
Yeah. There are comics that can do that, and I admire it, and I would love to find that balance of making that universally funny for everyone, and still working on that. But it's I have my sets that's more relatable, like normal things that people are into it, except for like more recently when I've been talking about like Black Superman, because that everyone knows Superman. Like if you don't know Superman,
what's wrong with you?
I don't know where you've been.
Right. Well, and then see, when I first heard about Black Superman, I was watching a lot of backlash, and it wasn't even coming from white people; it was coming from black people, because
that did happen too. Yeah,
a lot at the time they were talking about just making Clark Kent black, which a lot of people were upset about, because you can't just change Clark Kent because he's been around for almost 100 years. Create something new, Yeah. It's like when Green Lantern, Alan Scott went gay. It's like out of the blue, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people are losing their shit over Superman's son being bisexual. And they're all like, Superman's bisexual. What the hell? You can't make Superman sucking dick. It's like, well, first off, it's
if you go on certain websites, you can find that very easily.
Well, I mean, I saw The Invisible Woman and She-Hulk on Pornhub once, but that's a whole nother story. I don't know how they kept the paint on China, but they did. Rest in peace, China.
It's the worst tribute.
I pay homage. I pay homage with my hand to the fallen Joni Lore. Yes.
There you go. Can you do that? When I find out that an actress or an actress has passed on, I can't do that. Like, it's just
I can see, that's the thing, is like I always wondered. It's like after she died, I'm like, well, how long do I have to wait before I can masturbate? Because it's like, I mean, or by doing it, am I paying homage to her? By feeding the old geese. I'm not crying. My penis is crying.
Oh, jeez.
And
it's
so
a different Untitled Goose Game, folks.
Yes. It's not going to be a AAA title, I promise. But
no,
no, not at all.
I don't know. I think I just get creeped out by it, but I don't get creeped out by music. I'm also not like touching myself to music.
No, I haven't done that in a long time.
I guess certain music can touch you.
I mean, not since Samantha Fox, but that's a whole other thing. And I'm probably a little bit older than you, so the Samantha Fox reference might be a little lost on you.
It's not ringing a bell right now, but
yeah, she was like one of these pop musicians who, I think she was in Playboy. But yeah. And I remember being younger and like having a Kathy Ireland poster on my wall, being like, I think I can see some of her pubic hair sticking out of her bikini.
That's what you had to do. Yeah,
that's you had to talk yourself through it, like as you're younger. But let's get off of that, because that is
just a weird ass tangent,
a fucking disturbing conversation on so many levels. So do you, obviously I'm not in New York and I haven't seen a full set of yours. I only
There is one
see.
online actually.
Is there? Well, you'll have to link me because I have to watch
Mm,
it. But it's like I see whatever the algorithm gives me essentially. Uh, how much of like your personal life do you use, and like do you get in depth with it, or do you just kind of like because when my mom was sick, I used to do jokes about having to take care of her, and that's a
mm-hmm,
little kind of how the sausage is made. But
mm-hmm.
do you ever get that deep with things, like maybe as a
Uh,
way to work things out mentally?
some like I don't think I've succeeded that well at it. I know, like, usually, like, anytime, like, I don't usually talk about family. Like, my family
Right.
is, I mean, they don't really do anything to be talked about. I maybe have like one or two stories. And I remember I had a story when I was uh maybe like a year in, where my brother was like, I was coming home. I called him like, "Hey, I'm on my way home." He's like, "All right, cool. We can come home, and we can like Netflix and chill." And then like he didn't know what it meant, and I was like,
Oh
"What
boy.
the fuck?" Yeah, I remember telling that he was in the audience, and like the look, everyone kind of looked at him like how kids would look at you when your name was in the back of a textbook.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
and like that was a very like low bar thing that did not make him comfortable, and I'd rather not do that. It wasn't a joke that like I would die on anyway. It was, no one even
Right.
says that anymore. But I think, and like when I've like lost jobs and stuff, I've tried to like get it out, but I really just scribbling like on yellow paper like Eminem, and like not making any sense with the jokes. But I think it depends on what it is,
Right.
and I applaud you for talking about when your mom was sick and finding the humor in it. I wasn't a stand up yet when this happened to me. My mom died of cancer in '06.
I'm
I
sorry.
probably, thank you.
Well,
I think
and you're another person that knows exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually got um lucky is the wrong word, but I didn't get to see a lot of it go south because
Right.
I was in college at the time. I was getting ready for college. I remember it happened out of like, at least the things going bad happened like right out of the blue. Like, it's a story I'll always remember. And I don't know how we got here.
No, go
It's a
ahead, man.
story.
I'm
No, I
not. Yeah.
know it's fine. It's a story I'll always remember because it's one of those things where like I guess the universe is it's working. Because I was gonna stay over my friend's place that day, and that night something. Usually I'm 19, like I'm in a rush to get out the house all the time,
Right.
but that night, like, I took my time. I just took my time, and I did not want to. I wasn't like in a rush to go. It was very not like me. And we talked and we talked, and we just talked. Not like anything hardcore, but we talked a lot. And then I left. And then the next day, I got a call me like she's in the hospital, and like she pretty much never came back out after that. She was coherent again, and we talked before I left again for college and stuff like that. But it was the beginning of the end, and I just kind of think about that because it's just like I don't. It's just kind of weird how life works,
Right. No,
like how you're actually
100%.
there, and like, but I don't know how. Like, I wouldn't know how to make that funny. And some people have like cancer jokes or dead parent jokes, and they do amazing jobs. Me, even years removed, that's something that I don't really have humor for.
Right.
So I maybe wouldn't get that personal about that. But others, other things, sure. I'm trying to think of something that I would get personal about. That's not like my nut allergy, which is like no one cares about that. No one cares about that but me.
You're the second
And
person in 2 weeks on this show who has a nut allergy.
oh, I talk about that on stage all the
Yeah,
time.
Wheezy Waiter, who was on last week, has
Yeah, man.
a nut allergy.
Happened late in my life. It sucks. But
Yeah, but no, see, my whole thing is I wasn't doing, I had stopped doing stand up before she started going into rehabs, and I wasn't doing anything about that kind of stuff. I was doing it more about the fact that she couldn't Like she couldn't pay her bills on her own, not because she wasn't mentally there. Her body was giving out. And I made jokes about that, like you have to, pay their bills. You have to be this person, essentially. You have to be this person when you're paying bills. You have to be this person when you're grocery shopping. You have to be this person on dates. So it's like, that blowjob in the back of that Camry went a little awkward. But and then I was in a similar situation to you, kind of, because they made me leave when they pulled the plug on her. Ooh. Like they told me I had to go home. And plus it's in the middle of COVID, and this is why I can't watch Star Trek Insurrection. Oh, no, First Contact. First Contact. I can't watch First Contact, and I can't watch Superman 4 anymore. Because as I'm standing over my mom, who is essentially gone at this point, I said, I love you, and I will make them pay for what they've done. I quoted Jean-Luc Picard to my mother, who's lying there on life support. And then I get home, and I'm losing my shit. They told me it's only going to be a matter of hours. It was 20 minutes. I was halfway through Superman 4. He was fighting Nuclear Man. And I get the call. And that's when it just gets, and it doesn't get, no matter what. And I'm sure you'll agree with me here. It never gets easier.
Yeah.
You just kind of, I don't even want to see you learn to live with it though, because you don't.
Yeah. I think like that sucks that they made you leave. I mean, I don't know the COVID like even regardless, like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. Like
they said you don't want to see this. I'm like,
I think you should have that choice if you want to.
No, and that's, she ended up in a rehab because she busted her leg up, and it was one of those leg breaks that like if you and I had this break, we'd be fine because we can walk around on crutches. We can't put it. It's the kind of break where you can't put any pressure on like the the shin bone or whatever. And so they had to put her in a rehab for 2 weeks because the rehab at the hospital wouldn't take her. Yeah. And then so they put her in this rehab, and at one point she has a Foley in, and I'm calling up to check on her every single day. This place is avoiding my phone calls because I'm really anal about it. But you can't trust people in a nursing home.
No, I get it.
And her Foley bag, the liquid was white. When's the last time you had white piss?
Oh God.
So it's like, and that's the point of no return, because she never got over that UTI, and it eventually killed her.
Yeah. These fucking people, man.
It took everything for me to not go just break the door down with a baseball bat.
Yeah. I mean, you made the right call, not going old
Frank Castle. Yeah. Going off Frank Castle. Yeah.
Yeah. And break stuff down with a baseball bat. But,
or cover them all in Jack Daniels, then ask them if they know the difference between justice and punishment, and then put a Zippo at their feet.
Yeah, we're not endorsing that.
Well, we're not endorsing it, but if it happens,
nope.
I'm not going to say it's wrong either.
I'm not signing off on any of it. But no, it doesn't get easier. I think about it every day. Not like stop like reflecting on a pond or anything, but like,
right.
Pops in my head at least some point every day. I try not to think too much about it, because then I'll just get sad. I just try to live my life, but it's not gone. Like, it's always in the back of my head for like not every little thing, almost everything. But it makes me. I have thought about like death, and thought about death more, because I like the.
Yeah, you do start thinking about death more when one of your parents die. It's really creepy.
Yeah, I think about it, like if someone's gone for too long, like I'm like, oh God, what happened? It's a combination of that and like this. They call it when they taught communications class years ago, they call it cultivation theory. Like if you're around, like if you watch too much CSI or Law and Order, you think that the world is like CSI and Law and Order. And I think I have cultivation theory with pro wrestling, because
I have it with Trailer Park Boys.
Or Trailer Park Boys for you, because like wrestlers die so early. Unfortunately.
Dude. Yeah.
So like I'm always like, oh God, it's like my friend's 45. This is it. Like that's just like in my head because I just think that like people like it amazes me that like the cast of Cobra Kai is like in their 60s and alive and well, and that's what happens when you're not a pro wrestler. Like people usually live long lives.
Yeah, like there's a Twitch channel that shows nonstop 80s, 90s, and 2000s wrestling. I'll tell you off the air what it is because I don't want it to get booted.
Oh yeah,
And it's on 24 hours a day, and I've been watching it nonstop. And they're going through like late 90s or late 80s, early 90s WCW, which is a special kind of torture. Like the Black Scorpion.
Black Scorpion. I thought you were like, because I started watching like Hollywood Blondes. And
no, they haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay, because that stuff is good. I will fight anyone on that.
Oh no, Hollywood Blondes are great. Brian Pillman is one of the most underrated workers in the business ever. And no, this is when he's still part of the Dangerous Alliance.
Okay.
When Paulie had a job and Jim Cornette was down in Kentucky running Smoky Mountain with Dixie Dynamite, which was yeah. I love Jimmy. Don't get me wrong, but some of those things did not age well.
Not one bit.
No. But he did give the Gangstas their first break.
He did. They were huge heels.
Yeah. I mean, beating the piss out of the Rock and Roll Express for just because they're white. Yeah, whatever.
I mean, it works for me. But to get back to my really long tangent today, when I think
entire
about
episode is a tangent, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how I talk sometimes.
That's fine.
Which just means my hour special is going to be very weird, but
I'll tune in.
Thank you. Like thinking about death. I think we like humans, like we're a little selfish about it, but it's also like it's in a good place. It's for a good place because I see people talk about it and they're like, oh, I know this, and I've had moments like this that they're watching over me. They're watching over me today. They're being with me. They're being with me. If my afterlife is watching over everyone I know in my entire life, what's the point? Like, why am I here?
Right.
I'm just gonna have constant FOMO. Like we just have this like thought of ourselves that like even after somebody passes and in the afterlife where you're supposed to be able to do whatever you want in theory. And like, or we like that you're sitting there and you're watching people. I
can see you maybe watching over like your immediate loved ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like over a son or a daughter or something like that. But not everybody. You know, if your fourth cousin's like, well, she's watching over me. It's like, no,
it's not. Yeah, not even close.
No, she don't give a fuck.
I think like you get like moments. I don't know, maybe it's like a DVR. You're like, oh, cool, Kyle's graduating today. You can watch over him that day, or like, oh no, he's in trouble. Can I like use my afterlife powers and help out? Or invade a dream. I don't know how it works, but
isn't that Freddy Krueger's power?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying it doesn't happen at all. I think it's funny that people think that it happens like constantly. That like someone is constantly there watching you. It's like like Elvis is up there.
Like, Elvis is keeping an eye on me.
Yeah, or like Michael Jackson. You can watch Michael Jackson. Well, depending where you think Michael Jackson and Elvis are.
And it also depends on what Michael Jackson is watching. Is he watching?
Yeah.
Is he watching you, or is he at a? Or is he at a? He walked right into it, or is he walking? Is he watching over a Chuck E. Cheese? So yeah, it really depends.
He could be.
Yeah, but that was a softball. It was just like, here you go.
Now, speaking of Michael Jackson, I thought about that in the afterlife too. If he is where you think he is, if he is above or below, but I'm just gonna say above for this analogy. What if like, because people are like, oh man, you're gonna like all the Golden Girls are reunited. What if they get there and they're like, hey, so now we want you guys to do a reboot for heaven? No, they don't want to act. Right. They want to be with their loved ones and they want to do stuff. Like, what do you got to heaven? Like, you're like an actor and entertainer, and like your afterlife is still putting on concerts. Like, kind of seems like a rip.
Yeah, it is. Do you? That actually brings up brings me to a good question. I think it's a good question. I don't know what you're going to think of it. But do you feel like because we've been locked down so much, memes have kind of become the new major form of comedy, and people aren't just like paying attention to other stuff anymore because everyone, there's the Betty White memes. Everybody has to, everyone's like, oh no, God didn't want her, but she saw what was coming, and this, that, and the other thing, and they're all trying to be clever and bullshit like that. You know what I mean?
I
And it's
hate memes
people
like
who have
that.
no. And I'm not saying, I mean, you can be taught how to write a joke, but you can't be taught how to be funny.
Yeah.
And it's people who aren't funny who are making these memes. And it's just like, so like, if I see a really good one, I'll share it, but I'm not just going to share whatever.
No, the only time I got it, the one that I used to like was like when they said the Macho Man died to stop the rapture, because I was like, I believe it.
Yeah, I can, that's, I mean, it is macho because he would do something fucking crazy like that. That's the,
If he can elbow drop Yokozuna in a Royal Rumble,
that
where
was
you're
so
supposed to throw
dumb.
somebody over the top rope, he'll stop the.
That was like, I'm watching. I'm like, what are you doing, Rand? No, and then he just gets pushed over the top from the pinning position, and it's. Now I got to go back and rewatch that Rumble because that was so funny. It's like, why would you? First off, you have to throw him over the top. How are you going to pick his ass up after you elbow dropped him?
I just figured it was instinct. He did it on instinct. Once you got the elbow, you go for the pin, I guess.
Right.
But then it was his back. I guess that was his logic. I don't know.
Have you seen the picture of Macho Man like elbow doing a flying elbow onto like Jesus or a dinosaur or something?
I've seen those.
Yeah. Fucking Macho Man.
Love him. But those memes, I won't say I think they've become easy comedy. Sometimes we scroll a lot. So sometimes you just want to
low hanging fruit.
Yeah. You just, and I like memes. Who doesn't? But sometimes people just want to be scroll, entertain, read something, move on. Or like same thing with TikTok. You want to watch a video of something for like 15 seconds and move on. I think with stand up is still very prevalent. Maybe because I'm around it more. It's still I think people still really enjoy it. I think there's an overabundance of it, which is good and bad, because technically you can kind of cherry pick your stand up, like what you want,
right?
Which is interesting, because I remember this was people were upset at I won't call them the alt-right comics, but the more like intense comics,
right?
I'll say that because like I don't think all of them are alt-right. And I remember seeing someone's conversation like, this kind of comedy needs to stop. This kind of comedy needs to stop. But you can't stop it. I remember being on a show with Aaron Berg, and Aaron Berg came out and he said every non-PC thing you could say. And the audience who pretty much watched a mostly PC show loved it. So there are people out there who love that kind of comedy, and like, they're not gonna run out and start calling people the N-word, but they love that kind of comedy, and you can't like get rid of that.
Well, I also think that a lot of it has to be like, if you're at a comedy show, know for the most part. I mean, I can't speak for every comedian, but for 99.9% of them are up there telling jokes. It's not they're not up there. It's not Nuremberg, And so you have to take it as a joke. And a lot of people fail to see that. And they just see somebody saying something that they don't think is right. And I like to think that with social media, it's almost like people who shouldn't have a voice have a voice. And that's kind of detrimental.
Yeah, there's positives and negatives to it. There's a positive that everyone has a voice, and the negative is that everyone has a voice. And everybody wants to try and hold everyone accountable. There's no mistake you can make, and even if you make the mistake, somebody's already and admitted to it. Somebody's already screenshotted your tweets to hold over your head forever. And
sorry, James Gunn.
Yeah, so I mean, it happens to James Gunn.
Yeah,
I think accountability is important, and I think you should take accountability for stuff, and people do. And I don't think it should ruin your life if you take accountability for it.
Right.
But it's the witch. I don't know. I don't want to sound like one of those dudes, but it's the witch hunt afterwards. It's Are you a big Simpsons person?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why this has even popped into my head. Remember when Bart destroyed Thanksgiving, Lisa's Thanksgiving diorama,
Right.
and then he comes back and in his mind he's apologizing, and they're like, "That apology is not good enough. It's your fault I can't do this. It's your fault I can't talk. It's your fault." Like
It's your
that's
fault
kind of
I don't have any hair.
yeah, yeah. It kind of feels like that for people who do take accountability sometimes.
Right.
And
And
I
that's
think,
a lot of this stuff that comes out to get people is like 10, 20 years later.
yeah,
And they've changed as a person and they come out and they say, hey, look, that's not who I am anymore. And if I offended you, I'm sorry, but it doesn't end there.
no, some people don't want, some people it's enough's not enough. And in a situation like that, what do you do if you say if you use like the F word, if you donate to a charity, you're virtue signaling. If you just apologize straight up, you're not sincere. If you do a notes apology, you're not sincere. I think we there's no black and white in the world in general anymore. It's I mean, there's no like gray. It's either black or white. And I think once we figure that out as people, then like we can just move forward in life. But I don't think people want to. I think people just want to shoot first and ask questions later, which is a very frustrating way to live.
It really is. It really is. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So you're always welcome back. Open door policy for you, sir.
Right.
You can follow him on social media at Keep It 5-star. It's everything Keep It 5-star, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And,
Everything. Twitch. Where I
Oh,
can't
yeah,
watch
Twitch.
TV anymore thanks to DM people
Yeah, that's
getting in trouble. Thanks.
That just
Big
hurt my heart.
streamers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm as I'm recording this, I'm missing NXT to do this. So I hope Braun Breaker appreciates that, so he doesn't, so the big bad booty nephew doesn't get upset. But Kyle, always a pleasure. And how you feel about you? Yep, good time on the show. I hope.
Yeah, I had a good time. I hope you guys did. I mean, I hope you did too. I feel like I think just because like the work day, a little all over the place, just kind of with answering questions.
No, I hear you.
I hope it made sense.
No, it was good. So all right, everybody, we'll be right back.
This is Jason Gann from Wilfred, and you are listening to the Ron Petit Show.
So that was a lot of fun, everybody. I think it was a good chat. It got a little dark at times, but you know what? That's fine because that's life. It's just the way of the world. So next Thursday, the 20th of January, 2022, is our 250th episode. Look for that to drop on Thursday. It might actually drop a little early over at patreon.com/I'm Uncle Ron. And that is with the drummer for Sunny Day Real Estate and Assertion, and used to be with the Foo Fighters, and he played with Mike Watt, and we had such a great conversation. That's William Goldsmith. That's next week. So be sure to follow the show on all podcasting platforms. If you're able to, give it a review and 5 stars, if that is your thing. Keep it 5-star. But I want to thank you all for listening, and we will see you all, or you'll hear me, I guess is a better way to put it, next week. Bye-bye.